It's a date Canada is trying to scratch off Donald Trump's calendar, but one the new White House press secretary says is firm.
As far as I'm still tracking, and that was last night talking to the president directly, February 1st is still on the books. The president has said that he is very much still considering that for February 1st. The February 1st date for Canada and Mexico still holds.
If the 25% tariffs are imposed, the federal government is considering a pandemic-like relief package for workers and companies, as first reported by the Globe and Mail. A source told Global News it will ultimately depend on the extent of Trump's decision.
We don't need Canada for that.
COVID-19 supports cost the economy hundreds of billions of dollars, and American tariffs could too.
We will be looking to try to ensure that those kinds of things do not significantly impact Canadian workers, Canadian companies. But this is a process. People should get ready for a bit of a bumpy ride.
The projections that we have seen.
Some call it a reckless power play. Others insist it's the bitter fruit of decades of naive diplomacy. Canada, once hailed as a model of measured leadership, now finds itself caught in a crossfire between two global heavyweights. One that bullies and threatens tariffs at every turn, and another that dangles promises of lucrative partnerships while flexing its own authoritarian muscle behind the scenes. Critics lambaste Justin Trudeau's administration for displaying what they view as a humiliating willingness to kowtow to Beijing's demands, even as they reel from the psychological whiplash of Donald Trump's tariff threats. The shockwaves from these political stunts are rattling Canadian businesses, farmers, and everyday households. Meanwhile, observers around the world wonder if Canada has backed itself into a corner, forced to choose between a belligerent ally to the south and an opportunistic partner across the Pacific. No matter who they side with, the fear is that Canadian sovereignty might be bartered away for a handful of short-term trade concessions. And in the midst of this tug-of-war, ordinary citizens are left fuming over whether their jobs, income, and political freedom are now bargaining chips on a global chessboard. If you're bracing for more unfiltered critiques, incendiary accusations, and an unvarnished exploration of high-stakes brinkmanship, then fasten your seatbelts because this is only the beginning. Stay with us till the end. Hello and welcome back to Innovative Check, YouTube channel, where we delve into the innovative and transformative projects changing our world. If you're new to the channel and enjoy learning about innovation stories around the world, you've come to the right place. Please subscribe, like, and comment to help boost our videos on YouTube. The delicate relationship between Canada and China has long been punctuated by moments of partnership and periods of tension. On the one hand, the Canadian government under Justin Trudeau has aspired to foster diplomatic and commercial bridges. On the other hand, the Chinese administration has conveyed an eagerness to deepen connections when it suits their own strategic interests. For a while, it looked as though both countries were destined to maintain a stable and mutually beneficial trade arrangement, especially with discussions of a free trade agreement looming in the background. However, these ambitions of economic collaboration have taken several hits over the years. The arrest of Huawei's chief financial officer catapulted tensions between the two nations, drawing in widespread scrutiny on everything from technological standards to alleged political interference. The consequences of this hack? The Chinese response, imposing restrictions on Canadian goods, was met with disbelief by some policymakers in Ottawa, who had previously believed that economic interdependence would shield them from outright retaliation. Nonetheless, Canada found itself scrambling to reduce the damage when canola seed exports were severely impacted. This disruption rippled through the prairie provinces, causing concern among farmers and local business leaders, who saw a sudden decline in a key revenue stream, especially since earlier that year, imports of cash mule cabbage. As Donald Trump began advocating for tariffs on a large scale, Canada's apprehension grew. The potential for a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods entering the U.S. market sounded alarms throughout the Canadian business sector. Many analysts pointed out that the measure, if implemented, would devastate industries already on edge about the broader uncertainty around North American trade. Even the threat of tariffs was enough to chill investment in certain sectors. Several corporations waited on the sidelines, worried that any shift in U.S. policy might upend supply chains or raise operational costs. While Donald Trump's rhetoric on tariffs is not new, the specificity around a 25% rate targeting Canada drew condemnation from Canadian politicians. Yet, Amid this controversy, Beijing signaled its willingness to step in as a more reliable economic partner for Canada. The Chinese embassy in Ottawa conveyed an openness to new trade talks, suggesting that both countries would benefit from a strategic realignment in the face of U.S. protectionism. The sentiment in some Canadian circles was that if Donald Trump was intent on escalating trade barriers, China might prove to be an alternative market, albeit with different hurdles and political implications. Yet sadly, we're still at the very beginning of this process. Chinese Ambassador Wang Di amplified this perspective by stating that cooperation with Canada was something Beijing was eager to pursue, provided the discussions took into account mutual respect and a willingness to find common ground. This phrase, while diplomatic on the surface, also carried an undercurrent. Chinese authorities demand certain concessions, either implicitly or explicitly, especially as they position themselves on the global stage as an economic heavyweight. Critics in Canada have expressed caution about diving too deep into trade with China, especially in sensitive areas like technology, energy, and telecommunications. They argue that any deal might give Beijing greater leverage in political or security matters. Economic data underscores the seriousness of the matter. Already forecasts suggest that if Donald Trump moves forward with a blanket 25% tariff on Canadian imports, GDP could shrink noticeably, and consumers may face higher prices on a range of goods. According to some estimates, even the mere threat of tariffs has dampened investor confidence. At the same time, China's internal demand could open doors for Canadian products, but the question remains whether those doors would stay open indefinitely. China has shown a willingness to impose bans or tariffs of its own when political disputes arise, leaving Canada at risk of trading one precarious partnership for another. As the debate unfolds, Carlo Dade of the Canada West Foundation has emphasized that these tensions reflect a larger global trend. Countries are rethinking their trade alliances in light of shifting power dynamics. The era of unchallenged globalization appears to be giving way to a more fractured environment, where national interests can rapidly override the norms of free trade. This doesn't mean, however, that new alliances can't form. It just means that each potential partner brings its own set of political objectives and strategic calculations. Just a quick reminder to hit the like below. YouTube has been restricting my videos a lot recently because of bots, so your like does help out this video massively in terms of the algorithm in YouTube. So some Canadian farmers, particularly in Western provinces, have argued that expanding trade with China might be the best way to lessen the blow of potential American tariffs. For instance, if beef or grain exports to the U.S. become too costly or complicated, having a stable market in China could provide a crucial safety net. Yet this line of thinking meets resistance from those who caution that any major shift away from the U.S. supply chain could be nearly impossible. And given how deeply integrated the two economies are, factories, distributors, and service providers on both sides of the border have formed a complex network over decades, and disentangling that could incur massive costs and logistical headaches. Politically, the spectacle continues to unfold in a way that captures international attention. Every statement from Donald Trump about tariffs is combed through by analysts trying to decipher whether it signals a genuine policy shift or a moment of performative brinkmanship aimed at rallying domestic supporters. In Canada, each remark spurs a debate on whether the government should craft contingency plans to mitigate damages. Meanwhile, from Beijing's standpoint, any rift between Canada and the U.S. can be leveraged to bolster China's position in global trade. It's a real hop game of geopolitical chess where alliances are constantly tested and redefined. Some Canadians advocate for closer ties with China, see an enormous consumer market that could benefit Canadian exporters, from agriculture to aerospace. They argue that focusing too narrowly on U.S. trade blinds Canada to growth opportunities elsewhere. Indeed, the rise of Asia more broadly marked by expanding middle classes and increasing demand for luxury goods, resources, and services could represent the next frontier for Canadian commerce. The assumption is that a forward-thinking government should position the country to tap into that growth. Notwithstanding the inherent risks, this balancing act places Canadian policymakers in an unenviable position. They must weigh the potential fallout of American tariffs against the promise of Chinese partnerships and the moral or ethical dilemmas that may come with them. Meanwhile, Donald Trump appears unfazed by the widespread criticism of protectionist policies, fueling debate about the role and future of trade blocs like the new NAFTA, often referred to as USMCA, or other multilateral agreements that Canada has signed. All the while, the Canadian public expresses varying opinions. Some are staunchly pro-American, citing cultural and economic ties that date back centuries. Others, tired of what they see as condescension or bullying from the U.S., look at China as a viable counterbalance. Political leaders have to navigate these public sentiments carefully, especially if trade tensions escalate to a point where consumers feel real pain through job losses or price hikes. The federal government's rhetoric suggests that they have contingency plans in place to shield certain industries should tariffs hit. Justin Trudeau has spoken about providing support, though details remain vague, possibly because disclosing too much would tip the government's hand. In the meantime, Caroline Leavitt from the White House signals that Donald Trump's February 1 date stands, leaving everyone in suspense about what might actually happen if the deadline passes without a new arrangement. It's also noteworthy that the Tax Foundation's studies indicate how detrimental these tariffs could be for both nations, not just Canada. The notion that American workers might benefit in the short term by shielding domestic industries doesn't account for the downstream consequences like retaliatory measures that could hurt American exporters or raise costs for consumers. Tariffs often provoke a cycle of retaliation, and before long, entire sectors can be engulfed in protectionist measures that stifle growth and innovation. In the Canadian context, the possibility of losing significant export markets while simultaneously grappling with new competition from Chinese imports presents a double-edged sword. On the one hand, forging trade agreements might foster new opportunities. On the other, opening up the Canadian market to more Chinese goods could undermine local producers if those goods come in at significantly lower prices. The business community must decide whether they're prepared to face that influx or whether they'd rather rely on what has traditionally been a relatively stable U.S. market. If you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and comment. Financial institutions in Toronto and elsewhere keep a watchful eye on these developments. Stock prices for industries heavily reliant on cross-border trade could fluctuate wildly if investors sense that a 25% tariff is imminent. Reports by analysts may set off alarm bells, and insurance against trade risks might become more expensive, translating into higher costs for corporations. For everyday Canadians, the thought of paying nearly $2,000 more per year for goods, as some estimates predict, is no small concern. That additional financial burden could dampen consumer spending, which would have a broader impact on the economy. Furthermore, if job losses become widespread in sectors like auto manufacturing or agricultural exports, the ripple effects would be felt across multiple communities. This is no mere theoretical scenario. Similar patterns have emerged in past trade disputes, underscoring the tangible consequences of policy shifts. Meanwhile, Chinese offers to bolster trade might come with strings attached. Skeptics argue that Beijing, knowing Canada is cornered, might push for more favorable terms that benefit Chinese enterprises, or demand concessions regarding technology transfers. These possibilities can unsettle Canadians, who worry that their country might compromise too much in search of a short-term economic lifeline. Questions of national identity and sovereignty also loom large. Historically, Canada has prided itself on a certain level of independence, maintaining friendly but distinct relationships with other major powers. In this climate, that independent streak could be tested. Aligning too strongly with the U.S. or China might erode Canada's capacity to operate as a mediator or neutral party in international disputes. Alternatively, refusing to choose sides could isolate Canada and heighten its vulnerability to economic shocks from multiple directions. For the moment, the Canadian government seems to be in a holding pattern, waiting to see if the next tweet or press release from Washington signals a reprieve or a renewed push for tariffs. Behind the scenes, trade negotiators and diplomatic staff presumably scramble to line up fallback options, contact business leaders, and gather economic data that might help formulate a coherent response if the worst-case scenario unfolds. As these developments proceed, various special interest groups, from labor unions to environmental organizations, might weigh in, hoping to influence how any new trade agreements or bailouts are structured. If Canada does end up forging a deeper relationship with China, activists could demand that issues like human rights be addressed in the agreement. Yet, historically, major trade deals rarely delve deep into such questions, focusing instead on tariff rates, quotas, and regulatory standards. Whether Justin Trudeau's government would push for these broader commitments remains to be seen. Meanwhile, Paulo Dade's experience in Beijing underscores that Chinese officials are not dismissing the possibility of improved relations with Canada. They see the tension with the U.S. as an opportunity to expand their trade influence. But Canada would not be the only potential partner in such a scenario. China may court other nations equally concerned about rising American protectionist support for forging ahead. For Canada, the unpredictability remains the largest headache. Your subscriptions and likes motivate us to generate more content, so please keep supporting us. Check out this video showing on your screen right now, and I will see you on the other side.